Okay, professional horticulture here. I'm going to show you about planting tomatoes. You end up with the tomato plant with a really long stem like this. It's just flopping around. You want to plant this either deep or plant this shallow. Tomatoes are one of the few plants that will root along the stem from these little nodules. In this case, the roots are already forming here. And so what you want to do, the process for doing this, in this case I'm going to plant it in a container. If you're planting it outside, it'd be the same thing. You want to let gravity assist you, turn it over, give it a squeeze. Now the best way to do this with the roots would be to make little cuts, but in the case of very fibrous roots, I could just make a couple of pulls. This one's not rooted too bad, so a couple of pulls, and then keeping in mind, it's going to root all the way along the stem. So I'm going to put it upright, put it down in the container. I have a little bit of soil here in this container already, but what I chose to do was put a little soil in and then fill around instead of filling it up and then trying to dig out to put this plant in. As you can imagine, if I put this thing right at the surface, right at the old container level, it would be this high and it would be falling over. By going down an extra 2, 3, 4 inches, I'm just allowing for more rooting and more stabilization of this plant. Now I'm adding my good mix here, a nice mix of potting soil, packing it in. I'm still going to put a stake on this because you got to cage a tomato anyways. Then you water down right away, and then I'm going with the stinky fish emulsion, fish fertilizer. Okay, goes here. The other thing I wanted to show you was I did this 1 week ago. I did the same thing with the tomato plant, except I put it down in the ground, laid it sideways. It was actually going like this. Same size root ball as the one I just showed you, 4-inch pot. I laid all this part in the ground, and so it was buried here, the container ball, up to about here, and then it was turned upright, and then I just dug it up right now to show you all of the roots that have formed on the stem. That's 1 week, and how this roots have grown out into the existing soil. So I'm going to go get this one back in the ground. But in cool climates where the topsoil warms up faster, and you don't have a long growing season, if you have a big long tomato like this, you plant it in, lay soil over the top of it, you get the benefits of the warm soil. In a really hot climate, you can plant this thing that deep, straight down, 1.5 feet deep, and then you have your plant growing, which you minimize the top part, but there's no tomatoes growing here anyways. You're just taking the lower leaves off. All your tomatoes are going to form there after those flowers get pollinated, and you'll have your fruit. Okay, planting tomatoes deep or shallow depending on your climate.